Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to Creative Grandma's channel. Today's crochet tutorial is for the Garden Metallic Doily. I'm showing you the one I made a week ago, and for today's crochet tutorial I made it in a different color. I chose to use bright, summery spring colors. This is the one I'm making today. So first I'm going to switch back to the purple doily and I'm going to tell you what colors I used in this one, and then I'll tell you what colors you need if you're going to make the yellow one, or you can click the link and you can view all the beautiful colors. I believe there's 26 different colors available and you can pick whichever colors you prefer. Now for this particular tutorial, I'm using 4 different colors. We're using a color for the flower, an accent to the flower, green for the leaves, and then separating those colors with this white, and then bringing the 2 colors back out to the outside of the doily. So for this doily, you're going to need 1 ball of color 702-18. This is what I want to call a creamy white. You're going to need 1 ball of color number 702-08. Now, if you're using other thread, it doesn't take much because you're only doing this 1 round with the green. So if you choose to use a different crochet thread, you're really not using that much. The next color you're going to need is color number 702-31. This is a beautiful light lavender, light purple, and these are all size 10 crochet thread or 0 lace. And the last color is color number 702-32. This is a beautiful darker purple, and you can see that metallic running through it. Now for this particular doily, my hook was larger than what was recommended. I am using a US size B1 or a 2.25 millimeter crochet hook. I have a lot of trouble with my eyes and working on doilies, so I do use a bigger hook. If you want to use a smaller hook, like maybe a size 7, then you're going to have a smaller doily. Again, I'm using a B1 or 2.25 millimeter. Now for today's tutorial, I'm making this beautiful yellow and orange doily. It's the same pattern, just done in different colors. Again, you're going to need that creamy white, color number 702-18. You're going to need that beautiful green. This is color number 702-08. And then I use this beautiful yellow. It's a golden yellow, color number 702-22. And again, you can see that beautiful glitter in the thread. And then the last color I used was this beautiful orange in color number 702-21. Again, this is a size 10 crochet thread or a size 0 lace weight. So wonderful colors, wonderful sparkle in this thread, and you're going to use again the size B1 or 2.25 millimeter hook. So let me just move this out of the way and then let me measure the doily. It should measure about 12 inches. So if you measure from one side to the other, it's going to come out to be about 12 inches across from side to side. Now this doily took me about a day to make. Now when you're watching this video, when I crochet with thread, I'm looking at the monitor and not my work when I crochet. So I'm a little bit awkward in part of this video because of that reason, not being able to see when I'm looking at my work. I have to view it through the viewfinder where it's larger. So please excuse my awkwardness in this video teaching you how to make this doily. So let's have some fun and let's get this project started. I already have my yarn attached to my hook and I just used the double knot. So let's go ahead and start our doily. We're going to begin and we're going to chain 5. Yarn over the hook, pull it through the loop, and that creates your first chain. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to skip the first 4 chain. We're going to come down to the 5th chain from hook, the last chain, and you're going to slip stitch. Insert your hook into that last chain, and yarn over, pull through that chain and pull through the loop on your hook. Now again, I do have trouble working with thread, so I may be a little slow with this pattern, so excuse me for that. And again, it's really hard when you first start with thread that's this little. So now we're ready to begin round one. Now round one, I'm going to take this piece of thread, hold it against my work, and I'll be crocheting right over top of that and then trim it off. We're going to begin with a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This beginning chain 5 will count as the first triple or treble and a chain 1. We're going to work 1 triple and a chain 1 13 times in the center of this ring. So let's begin. To make a triple, you're going to yarn over twice. You're going to insert right into the center of your ring, and once you make a few stitches, that'll open up a little bit nicer. Yarn over, pull through the center of that ring. You're going to have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's how you make a triple crochet. You're going to chain 1, and that is the end of the repeat. So we needed to do that 13 times. We did it once. We need to do it 12 more times. So let's do it again. Yarn over twice, insert into the center of that ring, work your triple crochet. Chain 1. That is 2 of 13. I'm going to do it a couple more times and then you can continue on your own. Triple in the center of the ring, and chain 1. You made 3 of the 13 repeats. So let's do it again. Triple in the center of the ring, and chain 1. So that is 4 of the 13 needed. So go ahead and continue and work 1 triple and a chain 1 9 more times in the center of your ring, and I'll meet you at the end of round 1. I'm over at the end of round 1. You started with your chain 5 and then you worked a triple crochet and a chain 1 13 times around, and you ended with that chain 1. So now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch round 1 together, and we're going to slip stitch into the 4th chain of that beginning chain 5. Count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and remember that first chain is down underneath. It's hard to see. So count up 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert your hook into the 4th chain. You're going to have 1 chain left and then your next stitch. You're going to slip stitch round 1 together. And this is what your work will look like. So now it's time to begin round 2. For round 2, we're going to slip stitch into this first chain 1 space. Insert into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull through that chain 1 space and pull through the loop on your hook. This is where you want to start your round, in the chain 1 space. So now we're going to begin and work a popcorn stitch using 5 triple stitches. So to begin the first popcorn stitch, it's always going to be made differently because your first stitch is going to be chain stitches to count as that first stitch. So let's start our first popcorn, and again this one will be made differently. You're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to work 4 triple back into the same chain 1 space. Again, to make a triple, you're going to yarn over twice, insert into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull through. You have 4 loops. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. So now we have to make 3 more triple into this same space. So let's begin. Triple into that space. That's 1. Another triple back into that same space. That's 2. And then 1 more triple back into that same space. And that's 3. So when you look at your work, you're going to have your beginning chain 4, which counts as the first triple, and then 4 triple crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we're going to form our popcorn stitch. So you're going to pull your hook up and make your loop a little bit bigger. Come back to the top of that beginning chain 4. Count up 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert your hook into the top of that beginning chain 4. Then insert your hook through the drop loop that you took your hook out of. Then tighten up that loop. And then I like to take my fingers and pinch my stitch together, and then you're just going to pull that loop through the loop from the chain 4 space. And this creates your popcorn stitch. So now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. So our first popcorn stitch is made. So now we're going to start the repeat, and again the repeat is going to be a 5 triple popcorn and then a chain 3, and we're going to do that in each chain 1 space around. So now all the rest of the popcorn stitches will be made with 5 triple crochet. So let's begin. Insert into that next chain 1 space, work 5 triple crochet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So just do a quick double count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull your hook up, make that loop a little bit bigger. Come back to that first triple crochet, insert into the top of that triple, insert into your drop loop, pull that loop tight, use your fingers, pinch, and then pull that loop through that first triple crochet loop. Then you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it 2 more times, and then you can continue on your own. Work 5 triple crochet into the next chain 1 space. So let's insert, work my first triple crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, you're going to pull your hook up, make your loop bigger. You're going to come back to that first triple crochet, insert under the top 2 loops, then take your hook and insert into the drop loop, tighten that loop up, take your fingers, pinch your stitch together, and pull that loop through the top of that first triple, and that makes your triple popcorn stitch. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. That's how simple it is to do your popcorn stitch. Let's do it one more time. 5 triple crochet into this next chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull your hook up, make your loop bigger, come back to that first triple crochet, insert under the top 2 loops, then insert into that dropped loop, pull that loop tight, take your 2 fingers, pinch that stitch together, and then pull that loop through the first triple. Your popcorn stitch is made, and now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and work 1 5 triple popcorn into the next chain 1 space, and then chain 3. 5 triple popcorn into the next chain 1 space, and then chain 3. Repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 2. I'm over at the end of round 2. This is what your work should look like, and you should have a total of 14 popcorn stitches with a chain 3 in between each popcorn stitch. And then when you get to the end of the round, you're ending with a chain 3. So now we're going to go ahead and join our round. So what I like to do is I go right into the top of the popcorn, just go right up to the top of that first popcorn stitch, and you want to go right down through the center top of that stitch and then out through the back, and then slip stitch your round together. So now I'm going to fasten off. So what I'm going to do is just let my ends hang, and I'll weave them in when I get my doily all done. So when I fasten off, I chain 2, 1, 2, pull up my hook, pull the thread out, grab, pinch, and pull down, and it creates a secure knot. Now if you have a preferred method of how you fasten off, then go ahead and use your preferred method. So now I'm going to grab my next color, which is the orange, and then we'll start round 3. I have my next color attached to my hook, and I just used a double knot. Now if you have a preferred method of joining your yarn, then by all means use your preferred method. This is just the way I prefer to join my yarn. I'm going to insert into that very first chain 3 space. Now you can join in any chain 3 space, it doesn't matter. I'm just going back up to where I fastened off in the very next chain 3 space. Yarn over, pull back through that chain 3 space, and then through the loop on your hook, and that just makes a nice secure join of your yarn. We're going to begin, and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That beginning chain 4 counts as the first triple crochet. So now we're going to work a triple back into that same beginning chain 3 space. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to work 2 more triple into this same chain 2 space. There's 1. Insert back in and make your second triple crochet. So when you look at your work, you're going to have a shell stitch. Your first stitch was a chain 4, which counted as the first triple crochet. Then you worked a triple crochet, chain 3, and 2 triple, all into that same beginning chain 3 space. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and now we're going to single crochet into this next chain 3 space. We're only working in the chain 3 spaces. We're skipping the popcorn stitches. Insert into that next chain 3 space, work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. So now we're ready to begin our repeat. So if you need help, you're going to start here where I say this is the start of the repeat. Work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and then you're going to repeat that around. So let's begin. We're going to work 2 triple crochet into this next chain 1 space. That's 1. And 2. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to work 2 more triple back into that same chain 3 space. One, and 2. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to single crochet into the next chain 3 space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and that is the end of the repeat. So your repeat is starting here at your shell stitch where you're working 2 triple, chain 3, 2 triple into that chain 3 space. Then you chain 3, work a single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and then chain 3 again. That is the end of the repeat, and then you start all over with the shell stitch. So let's go ahead and do it again. 2 triple crochet into the next chain 3 space. 1, 2. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. 2 triple crochet back into that same chain 3 space. 1, and 2. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, single crochet into that next chain 3 space, and then chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. So let's do it one more time, and then you can continue on your own. You're going to work 2 triple crochet into that next chain 3 space, 1, 2. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to work 2 more triple back into that same chain 3 space. 1, and 2. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and then chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And that is the end of the repeat. This is what your work looks like. So go ahead and start with your shell stitch. You're going to work 2 triple, a chain 3, and 2 triple into the next chain 3 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and then chain 3. Repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 3. I'm over at the end of round 3. This is what your work looks like. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shell stitch around, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 single crochet with those chain 3s on each side. And now we're getting ready to join our round. We're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of this beginning chain 4. Remember that first chain is clear down here. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert your hook and slip stitch. I'm going to go ahead and fasten off my orange. And again, you can use whichever method you prefer when you fasten off your work. So now I'm going to grab my next color, which is going to be the yellow, and then I'll be back and we'll start round 4. I have my next color attached to my hook, and again I just used a double knot. Now you can change colors in whichever round you prefer. You don't have to make it exactly like I am if you want to change it up a little bit. I'm going to join my new color into the chain 3 space of our first shell stitch. So insert into that chain 3 space and slip stitch your new color through the loop on your hook. And then I just pull my strand of yarn, make sure that's nice and snug. We're going to begin with a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The beginning chain 4 counts as our first triple crochet. We're going to work 2 more triple back into this same chain 3 space. There's 1. And 2. We're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I like to pull my stitches over a little bit. And now we're going to work 3 more triple crochet back into this beginning chain 3 space. 1, 2, and 3. So when you look at your work, you started with your beginning chain 4, which counts as the first triple. Then you work 2 triple, chain 3, and 3 triple into that first chain 3 space. Now I worked over my end, and now I'm going to leave this end hang, and I'll weave that in later. We're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to single crochet into this next single crochet. So find your next single crochet and work 1 single crochet into the top of that stitch. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're ready to start our repeat. We're going to work our shell stitch of 3 triple, chain 3, and 3 triple into this next chain 3 space. So work 3 triple into that next chain 3 space. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Work 3 more triple back into that same chain 3 space. 1, 2, and 3. So when you look at your work, you have 3 triple, a chain 3, and 3 triple into that chain 3 space. You're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then single crochet into that next single crochet, and then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do the repeat one more time. You're going to work 3 triple into that next chain 3 space of that next shell stitch. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to chain 3, work 3 more triple back into that same chain 3 space. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into that next single crochet, chain 4. And that is the end of the repeat. So again, your repeat will start with your shell stitch. You're going to work 3 triple, a chain 3 and 3 triple into the chain 3 space of that next shell stitch, and then you're going to work a chain 4 and single crochet into that next single crochet, and then chain 4, and then start all over again with your shell stitch and work that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 4. I'm over at the end of round 4. This is what your work should look like. You're going to have your shell stitch, a chain 4, a single crochet, and then your chain 4, and then you repeated that around. So now we're going to come up and we're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of that beginning chain 4. You're going to start clear at the bottom. You're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert your hook into the top of that beginning chain 4 and slip stitch. I'm going to fasten off my yellow, and again use whichever method you prefer. I'm going to leave my ends hang, and I know it's annoying seeing all these ends. It's just easier to weave them in on the back when I'm all done. So I'm going to grab my next color, which is going to be my green, and then we're going to start round 5. So I have my new color attached to my hook, and I just used a double knot. I'm going to join my new color into the chain 3 space of that beginning shell stitch. Insert into the chain 3 space, and then slip stitch through that space and through the loop on your hook, and this attaches your yarn nice and secure. We're going to begin with the chain 1. We're going to work a single crochet back into this chain 3 space. Now we're going to chain 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So now just take your fingers and pull that chain 13 out of your way. I usually just pull it back towards my hand. So now we're going to work a 5 triple popcorn into this next single crochet stitch. So I'm going to begin and work my 5 triple into that beginning single crochet. That's 1. Insert back into that same single crochet, work your 2nd triple crochet. That's 2. Work your 3rd triple back into that same single crochet. Work your 4th triple back into that same single crochet stitch. And then 1 to go. Work your 5th triple crochet into that same single crochet stitch. Then you're going to pull your hook up, make a little bit bigger loop. You're going to come back to the very top of that first triple crochet, insert under the top 2 loops, insert into the drop loop, tighten that loop, take your fingers, pinch those stitches together, and then pull that loop through that first triple crochet. And then I like to tighten up my tension onto that and make it tight. Now we're going to chain 13 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Now we're ready to begin our repeat. So if you need help, just click back to the video where I say this is the start of the repeat for round 5. Work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and you're going to repeat that around to the end of the round. So let's begin. Again, this is the start of the repeat. Single crochet into the next chain 3 space of that next shell stitch. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Take your 2 fingers, or however you're comfortable doing, pull that chain back out of your way. You need to tighten up your thread, make sure you keep that your tension nice and taut. So triple crochet into that next single crochet. That's 1. Insert back into that same single crochet, work your second triple. Work your third triple back into that same single crochet. Work your fourth triple back into that same stitch. Then work 1 more for a total of 5 triple into that single crochet stitch. Pull your hook up, make a bigger loop. You're going to come back to that first triple crochet, insert right into the top of that stitch, take your hook and go through that drop loop, then tighten that loop, pinch those 5 stitches together, and then pull that loop through that first triple. And then we end the repeat with a chain 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And that is the end of the repeat. Again, the repeat starts with the single crochet into the chain 3 space. You're going to chain 13 and then work a 5 triple popcorn into this next single crochet and end with a chain 13. So let's do it one more time and then you can continue. Single crochet into that chain 3 space of that next shell stitch. You're going to chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Now we're going to work a 5 triple popcorn into this next single crochet. So work a triple into that next single crochet. That's 1. Triple back into that same single crochet. That's 2. Triple back into that same single crochet. That's 3. Triple back into that same single crochet. That's 4. One more to go. Triple into that same single crochet for a total of 5 triple crochet. Our 5 triple crochet are made, so I'm pulling up on my hook, making my loop a little bit bigger. You're going to come back to the top of that first triple crochet of that 5 triple crochet group, insert under the top 2 loops, and then take your hook and insert it through the drop loop. Tighten that loop up, and then take your fingers, pinch those stitches together, and then pull that loop through that first triple crochet. And your triple popcorn stitch is made. You're going to chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And that is the end of the repeat. Again, your repeat will start here. You're going to start with a single crochet into your next chain 3 space. You're going to chain 13 and then work a 5 triple crochet popcorn into this next single crochet and end the repeat with a chain 13. Repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 5. I'm over at the end of round 5. This is what your doily should look like so far. You're going to have 7 of the popcorn stitches. You're going to have 7 of the single crochet, and then you're going to have those chain 13 spaces in between each one of those single crochet. So now we're getting ready to join our round. So we're going to come up and slip stitch into that first single crochet stitch. Insert into the top of that beginning single crochet. I go under the top 2 loops, and then you're going to slip stitch. I'm going to fasten off my green, and again use whichever method you prefer. So round 5 is finished. This is what your doily is going to look like. So now it's time to start round 6. So I'm going to grab my white, and then we'll begin. I have my white attached to my hook, and I just used a double knot. I'm going back up to where I fastened off, and I'm going to slip stitch my new color right in the center of this beginning chain 13 space. So I'm taking my hook underneath the chain 13, right about the center, and then I'm just going to yarn over, pull underneath that chain 13, and then pull it through the loop on my hook. We're going to begin with a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This beginning chain 4 will count as our first triple crochet. We're going to work 3 more triple back into this chain 13 space. So what I like to do when I know I'm going to do quite a few stitches is I like to work my stitches right over the end. So I'm just going to hold that right up against my work, and I'm going to work 3 more triple right into the center of that same chain 13 space. So you got to kind of maneuver your fingers and hold on to that because it's a pretty large chain space. That's 1. 2. And 3. And then what I like to do is just pull those stitches over a little bit. Try to make sure they're about the center of the chain 13 space. And that's why when you work your stitches under the chain 13, you can kind of slide them back and forth, which is really nice when you're trying to pin and block this. We're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to work 4 more triple in the center of the same chain 13 space. So because this is a pretty large chain 13 space, I really have to move my fingers around to hold on to this to make my stitches. So you just have to get comfortable working with thread. And a lot of times when you're working with yarn and you switch to thread, you just have to get used to that really tiny thread. That's 2. 3, and 4. So when you look at your work, you started with your chain 4, which counts as the first triple. Then you worked 3 triple, a chain 3, and then 4 triple into that same beginning chain 13 space. Now again, I'll weave all these ends in later. So now we're ready to start our repeat. And our repeat, we're just going to work 4 triple, a chain 3, and 4 triple in the center of each chain 13 space around. So let's begin. Work 4 triple in the center of the next chain 13 space. There's 1. 2. 3. 4. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and work 4 more triple into the center of that chain 13 space. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I just try to make sure that all my stitches are right in the center of that chain 13 space, and then I might move it over a little. So that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it one more time. We're going to work 4 triple in the center of the next chain 13 space. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to chain 3 and work 4 more triple back into that same chain 13 space. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, I like to just move those stitches over and kind of put the bottom of all the stitches together. Make sure it's in the center of that chain 13 space. And that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and continue and work 4 triple, a chain 3, and 4 triple in the center of each chain 13 space around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 6. I'm over at the end of round 6. This is what my work looks like. You should have a shell stitch in the center of each one of those chain 13 spaces around with 4 triple, a chain 3, and 4 triple for each shell. So now we're just going to go up to the top of our beginning chain 4 We're going to come over and count up to that top chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert into the top of that beginning chain 4 and slip stitch. So round 6 is finished, and now we're getting ready to start round 7. For round 7, we're going to slip stitch across until we get to the center of this first chain 3 space. Insert into that next stitch and slip stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch 2 times into this chain 3 space and get over to the center. So now I'm in the center of my chain 3 space, and we're going to start round 7. We're going to begin with a chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to work 4 more triple into the same chain 3 space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to work 5 more triple into the same space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when you look at your work, you're going to have your beginning chain 4, which counts as the first triple, 4 triple, a chain 3, and 5 triple. So now we're ready to start our repeat. Our repeat, we're going to be working 5 triple, chain 3, and 5 triple into the chain 3 space of each shell stitch around. So let's begin. Work 5 triple into that next chain 3 space of that next shell stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're going to chain 3. Now we're going to work 5 more triple into that same chain 3 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, you're working 5 triple, a chain 3, and 5 triple in the chain 3 space of each shell stitch around. So let's go ahead and do the repeat one more time. We're going to work 5 triple in the chain 3 space of that next shell. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to chain 3, and now we're going to work 5 more triple back into that same chain 3 space. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when you look at your work, we're working a shell stitch right into the center of the shell stitch below, and we're working 5 triple, a chain 3, and 5 triple into the chain 3 space of each shell stitch around. And I'll meet you at the end of round 7. I'm over at the end of round 7. This is what our doily looks like. You worked a shell stitch with 5 triple, a chain 3, and 5 triple in the center of each shell stitch around. We're over to the end, and now we're going to join. We're going to join into the top of this beginning chain 4. You're going to start clear down at the bottom, count up 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert your hook into that 4th chain, slip stitch through that stitch and through the loop on your hook. So round 7 is finished, and now we're going to start round 8. Now round 8, we're using the same color, and we're going to slip stitch across to this first chain 3 space and start our round right in the center of that chain 3 space. You're going to skip the chain 4 space. You're going to insert into the very next stitch right under the top 2 loops and slip stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. Slip stitch into the next stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch across to that center chain. So I just worked 2 slip stitches right underneath and around that chain 3. That was 1. And then I'm just going to slip stitch again right into the center of that chain 3 space. So now we're in the center, and now we're going to start round 8. We're going to begin with the chain 1. We're going to insert back into that chain 3 space, work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Insert back into that same chain 3 space, work a single crochet. So you start with a chain 1, single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet all into that same beginning chain 3 space. So now we're going to be working between this current shell and the next shell. We're going right into this space right here and working our next set of stitches. We're going to triple crochet in between the current shell and that next shell in this big opening, work a triple crochet. You're going to chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I just take my fingers. It's all in how you crochet and what you're comfortable doing. I try to pull these out of the way, and then we're going to work another triple back into the same space. So yarn over twice, insert back into that same space between the current shell and that next shell, and work a triple crochet. So when you look at your work, you're going to have a triple crochet, a chain 7, and a triple crochet worked between that current shell and the next shell. So now we're ready to start our repeat. We're going to work a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the center of the next chain 3 space of the next shell. And then we're working a triple crochet, chain 7, triple crochet between that current shell and the next shell into this big opening. And then that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it a couple times together. Insert into the center of that next chain 3 space of the next shell, work a single crochet, chain 3, insert back into that same chain 3 space, work a single crochet. Now we're going to work 1 triple, a chain 7, and 1 triple between the current shell and the next shell right into this big opening. So triple crochet between the current shell and next shell in this big opening, work your triple crochet. Chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Work 1 more triple crochet back into that same space between the current shell and the next shell. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's go ahead and do it again. You're going to insert into the next chain 3 space of the next shell stitch, work a single crochet, chain 3, insert back into that chain 3 space, work a single crochet. Work a triple crochet between the current shell and the next shell in that opening. Chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Work 1 more triple crochet back into that same space. And that is the end of the repeat. So this is what your work should look like. So go ahead and continue around. You're going to work a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into that next chain 3 space of that next shell, and then you're going to work a triple crochet, chain 7, triple crochet between that current shell and the next shell into this opening here. So go ahead and repeat that around. If you need additional help, just click back on the video. I'll meet you at the end of round 8. I'm over at the end of round 8. Again, you work that single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the chain 3 space of the shell stitch, and then you worked a triple crochet, chain 7 triple between that current shell and the next shell, and you repeated that around. So I'm back over to where we started the round. Here's my single crochet, chain 3 single crochet. You're going to bring your hook over, and that triple is going to stretch right over those last few stitches, and you're just going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. Insert under the top 2 loops and then slip stitch through that stitch and through the loop on your hook. So round 8 is finished. So now we're finished with our white. So I'm just going to fasten off, and I like to leave a longer length because it's so much easier to weave those ends in when you have the longer length, and then you can just clip it off. If it's too short, then you have a harder time getting it into the back of your stitches and weaving it in. So again, I fasten off, I chain 2, but use whichever method you prefer. I grab the thread, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. So now I'm just going to grab my next color, which is going to be the yellow, and then we'll start round 9. I have my new color on my hook, and again I just tied it on with a double knot, and now we're going to go up and start round 9. So when you look at your work, this is where we fastened off. You have that single crochet, chain 3 single crochet. You're going to skip that section, and you're going to go over to your first chain 7 space. So I'm just going to insert underneath that beginning chain 7 and slip stitch. We're going to begin and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And this beginning chain 3 will count as the first triple of a 3 triple cluster, or 3 triple together. So next we're going to yarn over twice. You're going to insert back underneath and around that chain 7 space, yarn over and pull through. You're going to have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. You're leaving the last loop of that triple stitch on your hook, and you're just not finishing the stitch. We need to do that one more time. Yarn over twice, insert underneath and around that chain 7 space, yarn over, pull through. You now have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You're leaving the last loop of that triple on your hook, and now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You just made 3 triple together, or what I call a 3 triple cluster. So I'm just going to slide this over a little bit, and now we're going to chain 3 and work another 3 triple cluster in this chain 7 space, and we're going to do that 2 more times in this same chain 7 space. So let's begin. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to work 3 triple into the center of this chain 7 space, but we're leaving the last loop of each stitch on the hook. So let's begin with our first triple. And again, we're leaving the last loop on the hook and not finishing the stitch. We're going to do that 2 more times. That's 1 more for a total of 3 triple, leaving the last loop of each stitch on your hook. So when you look at your work, you're going to have your 3 triple with the last loop of each stitch on your hook, and then the loop from your hook. 4 loops total, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. So now we have to chain 3 and work 1 more 3 triple cluster in the same chain 7 space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Work 3 triple, leaving the last loop of each stitch on your hook. There's 1. Two, and 3. Again, you have 3 triple, leaving the last loop of each stitch on your hook, and then you have the loop from your previous work. A total of 4 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to single crochet into this next chain 3 space. So you have to make sure you look for it. It's right above the top of this shell stitch. It may flatten out and just blend in, so go right to the center of the shell stitch, go right up into that chain 3 space. Work a single crochet. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's go ahead and work that repeat again. You're going to work 3 triple into that next chain 7 space, leaving the last loop of each stitch on your hook. There's 1, 2, and 3. You have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to repeat the 3 triple cluster or 3 triple together. Yarn over twice, insert back into that chain 7 space, work 3 triple, leaving the last loop on the hook. There's 1, 2, and 3. 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on the hook. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm just going to take my fingers, move those stitches over just a little bit so I can get my next 3 triple cluster in this space. So we're going to work a 3 triple cluster back into this chain 7 space. Remember, you're working 3 triple, leaving the last loop of each stitch on your hook. That's 1, 2, and 3. You have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops in your hook. So when you look at your work, you're going to have a 3 triple cluster, chain 3, 3 triple cluster, chain 3, and a 3 triple cluster all into that same chain 7 space. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to come over to the next chain 3 space. It's right above that shell stitch. Just find that chain 3. It's a little smaller. Insert and work a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and that is the end of the repeat. So I'll do it one more time with you, and I'll go into a little more detail for that first cluster. So let's go ahead and do the repeat again. You're going to yarn over twice, insert into that next chain 7 space, yarn over and pull through. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You just made your first triple, leaving the last loop on the hook. We need to do that 2 more times. Yarn over twice, insert underneath and around that chain 7 space, yarn over and pull through. You have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. You just made your second triple, leaving the last loop on the hook. Yarn over twice, insert underneath and around that chain 7 space, yarn over and pull through. You now have 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, yarn over, pull through 2 loops only. You have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on the hook. That is how you do your 3 triple together or your 3 triple cluster. So now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to work a 3 triple cluster. Again, you're leaving the last loop of each stitch on your hook. There's 1, 2, and 3. You have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. You're going to chain 3, and we need to make one more 3 triple cluster. So I just pull my stitches over, make room, work 3 triple, leaving the last loop of each stitch on your hook. That's 1, 2, and 3. You have 4 loops, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. Again, you're going to have a 3 triple cluster or 3 triple together, chain 3, 3 triple cluster, chain 3, and 3 triple cluster, all in that chain 7 space. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to come over to your next shell stitch, follow it right up to the top, insert into that next chain 3 space, work a single crochet, chain 3. And that is the end of the repeat. Again, the repeat is starting into the next chain 7 space. You're going to work a 3 triple cluster, chain 3, 3 triple cluster, chain 3, 3 triple cluster, all into that next chain 7 space. Then you're going to chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and then chain 3. That is the end of the repeat. Repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 9. I'm over at the end of round 9. This is what your work should look like. And when you get to the end of the round, you're ending with that chain 3 space. And now we're just going to go up and join with a slip stitch into the top of that beginning 3 triple cluster. So when you're looking at your work, just find that center stitch, follow it all the way to the top, and we're just going to slip stitch right into the top of that beginning cluster. I'm going to fasten off my yellow. So again, it's always better to leave a longer length, so it's so much easier when you're using that yarn needle to weave that in on the back of your work and then just clip the remainder off. Now you can fasten off in whichever manner you prefer. I chain 2. It gives a more secure knot. I grab my yarn, thread, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. And then I'll weave this in on the back and secure it underneath these stitches. I'll weave it down through the back and then over and then back. And that's how I weave in my ends. So now I'm going to grab my next color, which I'm going to be using this orange color next, and we'll start round 10. I have my new color attached to my hook, and again I just use a double knot. So we're going to start round 10. So you want to go to your beginning set of 3 triple clusters. You fastened off here, and we're going into that first chain 3 space. We're going to join our yarn with a slip stitch. I insert underneath and around the chain 3 space, yarn over, pull through that space and through the loop on your hook. To begin round 10, we're going to chain 1, insert back into that same chain 3 space, work a single crochet. You're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to skip the center cluster, insert into the next chain 3 space, and work a single crochet. We're going to chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So now we're ready to start our repeat. So if you need additional help, just click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat, work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and you're going to work that around. So let's begin the repeat. You're going to skip the next 2 chain 3 spaces, insert into the next chain 3 space, which is the first chain 3 space of those 3 triple clusters, work a single crochet. You're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Single crochet into the next chain 3 space. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and that is the end of the repeat. So now we're going to do it again. You're going to skip the next 2 chain 3 spaces, 1, 2, insert into the next chain 3 space, which is the first chain 3 space in that 3 triple cluster group, work a single crochet. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Insert into the next chain 3 space, work a single crochet. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and continue. If you need help, click back on the video. Again, you're going to skip the next 2 chain 3 spaces, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, chain 5, single crochet into this next chain 3 space, and then chain 13, and that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and work that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 10. I'm over at the end of round 10. This is what your work should look like, and when you get to the end of the round, you're ending with your chain 13. So let's go ahead and join our round. We're going to skip that beginning chain 1 where we joined our yarn, and you're going right into the top of that beginning single crochet. Insert under the top 2 loops and slip stitch. Round 10 is finished. Now we're ready to begin round 11. Round 11, we're using the same color with that beautiful orange or whichever color you prefer. And we want to start in the center of this beginning chain 5 space. So I'm just going to slip stitch right over to the center. I'm going to put 2 slip stitch. I go underneath the chain and not into the chain. So I work 2 slip stitches, and now I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet right into the center of that chain 5 space. And again, I'm working my stitches underneath the chain and not into the chain. I'm going to chain 1, and now we're going to work 20 triple crochet stitches in this next chain 13 space. So work 20 triple crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue until you have a total of 20 triple in this same chain 13 space, and I'll be back and we'll continue. I work 20 triple crochet all into that chain 13 space, and that is what your work should look like. Now we're going to chain 1 and start our repeat. So if you need help with this round, just click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat, work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and you're going to work that around. So to begin the repeat, you're going to single crochet into the center of this chain 5 space. Again, I'm going underneath the chain and not in the chain. Single crochet. You're going to chain 1, and now we're going to work 20 triple crochet into this next chain 13 space. And again, I'm going underneath and around the chain. That's 1, 2, 3. Continue and make 20 triple crochets, and I'll be back and we'll continue. We worked our 20 triple crochet into that chain 13 space, and now to end the repeat, you're going to chain 1. So again, that was the end of the repeat. So you can see how our repeat is forming. So again, if you need help, just click back on the video. You're going to begin the repeat with a single crochet into the center of this next chain 5 space. You're going to chain 1, work 20 triple crochet into the next chain 13 space, and then chain 1, and that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 11. I'm over at the end of round 11. I just worked my 20 triple crochet into the last chain 13 space, and now we're going to finish the round. We're going to chain 1 to finish that repeat. And now we're going to come over and slip stitch into the top of this beginning single crochet. So make sure you don't get it confused with the single crochet, that next single crochet in the round below. You want to go up to the starting single crochet that's in the center of that beginning chain 5 space. So again, skip that single crochet, jump over to the single crochet into that first chain 5 space, insert under the top 2 loops, and slip stitch. Now I'm going to fasten off my orange, and again, I like to leave that little bit longer length, and I chain 2, and again, use whichever method you prefer. So the crocheting part of our doily is finished. This is what it looks like, but it's not quite finished yet. I'm going to show you how you take a crochet doily, and we're going to block it so it has a nicer shape. You see how these shell stitches have those points, how we're going to pin this and starch it just so it has a beautiful look, lays flat, and has a really nice shape. So what you're going to need next is you're going to need some plastic wrap, and you're also going to need a piece of cardboard that's bigger than your doily. Now this is already stretched, so you see it fits pretty well on the cardboard. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my plastic wrap, and you're just going to cover the top of your cardboard with the plastic wrap. Now the reason you use the plastic wrap is it just helps so it doesn't stick to the cardboard. Now once your cardboard is covered, the next step is to make sure that all your ends are weaved in on the back. Now this is the back of your work, and once your ends are weaved in, flip it over to the front and make sure the right side is facing. You want those popcorn stitches showing on the top of your work. That's how you can tell the top of your doily, and you're going to lay it on your cardboard. Now remember, we're going to stretch this slightly, so you want to make sure it's kind of like centered so you have the same amount of room on the bottom as you do the top, so when you're stretching it, you have room to do so. So then you're going to grab your pins. Now make sure you're not using any rusty pins because the rust does come off on the thread thread. Make sure they're nice and clean and nice and new straight pins. So I'm just using these little straight pins, and it's easier sometimes if you just dump some out so they're easier to pick up instead of reaching in and jagging your fingers. So what I do is I start right in the center. So this is pretty well already set. So I'm going up into the chain 3 spaces between the popcorn stitches, and I'm just going to pin right between those popcorn stitches. Now when I do this, everyone has their own preferred method. This is just my way. As long as you're stretching and just have a really nice look when you're all finished pinning your doily on the cardboard, then just look it all over, make sure it suits what you want to do with it. And then I go to the other side and I just pull it ever so slightly. You don't want to pull it so tight. You just want to pull it so it just has a nice little stretchiness to it, to accent the design. So again, I'm going right in between the popcorn stitches. Just pull out ever so slightly and pin. Now if you pin all on one side, it can get distorted, so it's best to kind of do, you know, like one side, then the other side, and then come back. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep pinning this in place. So now, since your center is pinned in place, I am jumping out to the yellow shell stitches. I'm skipping this orange round and I'm just coming out where our shell stitches are to those chain 3 spaces. So I'm just going to take my finger and pull it ever so slightly, just so I get a more pronounced point, just so I can really accent that shell stitch. I'm going to pin that in place. And then I'm going to try to go over to the other side and pick one over here and do the same thing. You're just going to take your finger, pull that out so you can give it a pretty pronounced point. And I'm just going to start pinning those yellow shells. So now I have the chain 3 points of those yellow shells pinned in place. Now I'm going to work on this green section. So we have our popcorn stitch here, and this is the section that I use a lot of my fingers to do the work. You're going to take one finger on one side and one finger on the other, and you're just going to pull them in separate directions in the way that they should go. This chain is going this way, this chain is going that way. Separate it. And then we're going to put a pin right in the top of that puff stitch right here, just to hold that in place. And we're just going to work our way around. Again, take your fingers, separate that chain. You have one coming in one side, one coming in the other. Pull them apart, separate them, just stretch it slightly, and then pin right in the top of that stitch. And I'm just going to do that all the way around my doily. So I have all my green puff stitches pinned right at the top. I pulled these apart. Now what I like to do is I like to take my finger, and we're working in the chain, these green chains at the base of this first round of white stitches. And what you want to do is just look at the stitches, and I just try to pull them together at the base. Make sure they're gathered really nice, and try to make sure they're in the center of that chain. And then I take my finger and then I come up right into that chain space of that shell and I pin. Go to your next shell stitch. Again, I like to pull the bases of those stitches together so they're in the center of that chain. Hopefully my hands are not in the way. So I center the base of that shell, and then I try to make sure it's in the center of the chain. And then I take my finger, pull slightly, and then pin right at the top of that shell stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around the doily. This is just a wonderful way to really make sure that all the details of the doily are highlighted. So now I have the first round of the shell stitch pinned in place. So if there's any spot that you see that you're not happy with, you can just use your fingers and move those stitches around until you get them where you want. So now I'm moving out to the next round of my white shell stitches. So I'm just going to take my finger, pull slightly, and then I'm going to pin in this chain 3 space right above it. We're just going to pin that in place. So now my second round of white shell stitches are pinned in place, and now I'm coming up to my 3 triple clusters. So I'm just going into the chain 3 cluster spaces. I'm going to pull that out ever so slightly and pin. Now again, for this round, I'm only pinning in the chain 3 spaces of the 3 triple clusters. So I'm putting 2 pins, 1 in each chain 3 space of each 3 cluster group around. So now I have all my yellow 3 triple clusters pinned, and now we're going to start pinning the outer layer of our 20 triple crochet. So what I like to do is I want it nice and curved. So some of them might look a little straighter. So I'm just going to pull slightly, and I'm just going to pin on the base of that because I want it to look scalloped. And then I'm just going to put 1 or 2 pins on the outside just to make sure that stays in place after I spray it with my starch. And I'm just going to continue and do that to each scallop around. Again, you want a nice curve. So this one looked like it squared up a little, so I'm just going to pull it up just a little bit more in the center. So there we go, I have my curve, and now I'm going to do it to this one over here. So if I'm not liking it, just play with the stitches. Just move them around until you get that nice curve. And I'm going to use at least 3 pins, 1 on each side and then 1 on the center. And if you have a loop like this end stitch it just wants to pull out, then just put a pin there. And then again, I'm putting 2 pins on the outside. Just put it where you want it, and then just make sure you pin it just so it holds its shape. So I'm going to go ahead and start pinning around my doily, and I'll be back when I get all my scallops pinned in place. So this doily edge to edge is 12 inches after I stretched it. So sorry I forgot to measure it before I stretched it. So we have one more step to go. Now I like to use heavy starch. You can use regular starch, and if you don't have starch, you can even use just water. So what I do is I just spray my doily, and you're just going to spray it until you get it soaking wet. And I like to spray it about 2 or 3 times because I like it to be nice and saturated. And you're going to see this liquid on the plastic, and this all dries clear. You're not going to see that, and if you do have a little bit of film from the starch, you can just knock that off with your hand and it comes right off. Now I do like to pin my doilies dry. Once I make them, I like to pin them out when they're dry and then I wet them. Some people prefer to dip them in water before they pin them, or a solution. Now remember, we're not trying to make this rock hard. We're only trying to make this so it holds its shape and look nice. So I sprayed it once. Just use your fingertip and just make sure that this is nice and saturated and it's nice and wet throughout, because we're going to let it dry all night and then we take the pins out in the morning. So I'm just going to give it another spray. Make sure that everything is nice and wet. And again, don't let this extra fluid on the paper scare you. That's fine. We're only using spray starch. So now, since it's all saturated, I'm going to let this set overnight, and then tomorrow I'll take my pins out and I'll finish my video. I'm back. I left my doily set all night long, and you can see how all that white liquid has just disappeared and evaporated. My doily is now a little bit stiff from that starch, so I'm just going to remove the last few pins, and then all you have to do is just lift it up off the plastic. So let me get the cardboard out of the way. Our doily is finished. This is what it looks like. And when you hold the doily up, you may see some of this clear little things from the starch, you can just pull them right off with your fingers. It comes right off. So that is what we made today. And this is the one that I made the other day with the purples. Now you can put your own spin on this doily. You can put a different color in the center. You can change colors every round. You can do your own thing and really put your own unique style into this pattern. So I want to thank everybody for stopping by and crocheting with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the crochet fun here at Creative Grandma's channel. So until next time, stay inspired and happy crocheting, everyone.